All right. Sa taya shraddhaya yuktaha tasya aradhanam ihate labhate cha tatah kaman maya eva vihitan hi tan. Okay. Sataya shraddhaya yuktas tasyaradhanam ihate labhate cha tatah kaman maeva vihitan hitan. Sataya shraddhaya yuktas tasyaradhanam ihate cha tatah kaman maeva vihitan hitan. Sataya shraddhaya yuktas tasyaradhanam ihate labhate cha tatah kaman maeva vihitan hitan. Please repeat. Okay. Anyone else? Shraddhayas yuktas Radhanam ihate Any of the mothers would like to try? No? Okay. Okay, so, okay. Saha, he, taya, with that. Shraddhaya, inspiration. Yuktaha, endowed. Tasya, of that demigod. Aradhanam, for the worship. Ihati, he aspires. Labhati, obtains. Cha, and. Tataha, from that. Kaman, his desires. Maya, by me. Eva, alone. Vihitan, arranged. He, certainly. Tan, those. Translation of quote by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Purport: the demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of demigods and achievements of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. Thus, a less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee who is in need of something prays only to the Supreme Lord. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of a pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of a demigod cannot be on the same platform, because worship of a demigod is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of material world rather than engage in devotional service of the Supreme Lord. Om Jnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunitamena Tasmai Shri Guru Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantika Vandeham Shri Guru Shvetapatakamalам Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagar Jantam Sagar Raghunatham Vitantam Sajivam Sadhuitam Savadam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagar Lalita Shri Vijakan Vitamsha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namasute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishwabhanusute Devi Pranamami Ripya Vanchakapatruvyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanvi Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtavadara Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamitinani Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtavadara Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamitinani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharni Nirvisesh Shunyavadi Pashati Deshani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so continuing to speak on the demigod worship and the platform of loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Specifically being emphasized here, the nature of what is often stated as Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadhyanavitam Anukulyena Krishnanu Shilanam Bhaktir Uttama. That one's devotional service to the Supreme Lord should be unmotivated in its desire. That it is devoid of all sense pleasure. It is all devoid of all desire to get some fruitive result in this world, or desire to even get some knowledge in this world. Knowledge of how to eat, sleep, mate, and defend, or knowledge of just how to become a better person, or such and such. Because by the power of devotional service, actually everything is achieved. As Srila Prabhupada has been quoting again and again, Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udardhi tivrena bhakti yogena purusham yajeta purusham param. That all of one's desires can be completely fulfilled by just completely focusing on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Independent endeavor is not required. So one who cannot understand the platform of pure devotional service or the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to endeavor separately. He endeavors separately. Why? Because there is Maya Pratagyana. His knowledge is being stolen by illusion. Specifically, that illusion being that tendency to enjoy. So we are naturally, you could say naturally, but conditioned to more or less forget the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who He is, what our position in relationship with Him is. And generally, just as Krishna describes, the embryo is covered by the womb, just like fire is covered by smoke. The living entity is covered by its conditioning. Although pure in essence, we are looking through this conditioning. And so misidentification, the interactions with the modes of material nature bring about a level of, or the endeavor to enjoy on different platforms, whether enjoyment is on the mode of goodness, mode of ignorance, or passion. We desire to enjoy. And that is a natural symptom of the Anandamayo Bhyasat. We are naturally enjoying, living entities that seek enjoyment. We're pleasure-seeking beings, naturally. But the problem becomes when we seek pleasure in the wrong places. When we seek pleasure without proper knowledge, meaning without proper understanding, then we become more conditioned and generally do things that are foolish, as Krishna is saying here. Those who have less intelligence, men of small intelligence, antavattu phalam tesham, those who have very small, minute understanding, alpamedasam, that those people who have very small-minded understanding, they approach the demigods. They go and inquire about fruitive activities, how to enjoy in this world. Those are defined as those of small intelligence. Now, in this world, we're pretty much taught that whoever can enjoy the most within this world is of the greatest character, has succeeded in life, and is the person that we should follow. That is the standard of life. That, okay, as long as you got money and enough to enjoy in your life, then you are the most intelligent class of men of society. But actually we see the opposite. Those who do have prominently, those who have a lot of material opulence, whatever they may be. Some may be intelligent, but you can see a lot of who have so much money, so much wealth, so much business, may have so much, a rap career, a basketball career, but doesn't particularly show that they're intelligent. Because while posing to be intelligent, they're still addicted to these abominable things of life, of illicit sex, of intoxication, of all of these abominable things. They're completely attached to that. They can't imagine a life outside of that. So real intelligence, Sumedha is defined differently in Vedic culture. So actually the Brahmanas are considered the most intelligent. Brahmana means one who studies or understands Brahman, one who tries to come to the platform of Brahman. What is that platform? Brahma bhuta prasanatma na sochati na kangsati sama sarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. That his position is that independent of whether there is enjoyment or not, whether there is happiness or distress, he is completely situated on the transcendental platform and he enjoys unlimitedly on this platform. Not independently, but unlimitedly, with proper understanding in relationship with Krishna. So that is a proper intelligent person that is inquired about the goal of life, Brahman, about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the nature of the transcendental platform. He's inquired about that, and not only has he inquired about it, jnana vijnana sahitam, that he has also practiced it. He knows and he practices. That is a symptom of Brahma Karma Swabhavaja, that nature of a Brahmana. Brahmana means of the intelligent class. He knows what is what, as Srila Prabhupada often say. He knows what is matter, what is spirit, and who's the controller of both. And Srila Prabhupada is pointing out here, those living entities who do not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for benefit. He doesn't know what is material and what is spiritual. So we think that even approaching the demigods is spiritual. Well, it's all the same. That's the most prominent philosophy. Well, it's all the same. We become blinded by this idea of sameness. Why? Because we want to enjoy. You'll see in this world when people want to enjoy, or we've seen in our own lives, when you want to enjoy something, we come up with reasons why to enjoy them. Even though at hand it doesn't seem so logical. Just like it's not so logical that we need, we may have 10 pairs of shoes and now I need the next new thing that comes out. It's not really logical. Well, you only need one. You can only wear one pair of shoes on your feet. And all it does is help you walk. But when the new shoes comes out, it's $500, $600. You don't really need it. But your mind starts to justify with you. Like, oh yeah, actually, this is a little more comfortable. Actually, it may fit your foot better. It may actually, it looks a little bit better than the other shoe that I have. The same red shoe the same red color I have, but this one has a slightly different red to it. Or we've seen in our lives in different aspects of when clearly we don't need it, or it will cause us more trouble to get that thing, or that, material thing. But we run after it anyways because our desires are too strong. We're pulled by kama, pulled by lust and greed. As Prabhupada says here, a living entity goes to the demigods usually because he's mad to fulfill his lust. So we're mad to fulfill our lust. So we'll take any excuse to go and fulfill that lust. So when a living entity is given an opportunity, then he will go and do that. Anytime somebody is given an opportunity to fulfill his lust, he has no problems putting aside everything to go and do that. Just like one may have a very important exam or test tomorrow, but the young man, the young woman, they'll make time to go and meet their lover, independent of what's happening. So similarly, those who are desiring material things in this world, who have an intense desire to enjoy material things in this world, they may worship or approach the demigods in order to fulfill that desire. Because they don't understand. Okay, by fulfilling the desire, what will I get? That's why it's called less intelligence, because one cannot see in the future that it actually doesn't solve my problem at hand. It ultimately doesn't solve the problem that I want to solve of satisfaction. That's what I want out of this material desire. I would like deep satisfaction. But we see again and again that in the future that is not happening. So that is of less intelligence. One who does not know where to find the proper source of pleasure. The reservoir of pleasure, as the word Rama means. The reservoir of pleasure. We're pleasure-seeking beings, but we don't know where that pleasure is. So therefore we seek it in the demigods, in our material circumstances, in our sex, in our cars, in our this and that and that. But all of this are less than small intelligence, you could say. Very small intelligence. Because we don't understand the ultimate goal. What is matter, what is spirit, and who is the controller of both. Practically no one understands this point in this world. Practically you can go to the universities, you can go to the professors, all of this. You ask this question, what is the difference between life and death? What is the difference between a dead body and a body that is alive? Most people will not be able to answer it. Or they'll give some very shallow answer. Or they'll realize, I actually haven't thought about this in my life. So this is the character of us or ourselves in this world. We haven't made the proper endeavor to inquire about that which is actually satisfying, that which is actually pleasurable. So a Brahmana means one who inquires about such things. That now, tato brahma jigyasa, now you've attained this human form of life. The point is to inquire about the absolute truth, not relative truth. Not how you can get a little bit of enjoyment here for some time. Not that punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. But this means that one goes up and down in this material world, Krishna says. One worships the demigods or acquires pious credits in this world, goes up to the heavenly planets, tries to enjoy there materially for some time, comes back down, and it just continues the process of going up and down in this world, but never becoming free from this material desire. And that is our biggest problem. This material desire is the biggest problem, not desire. Desire is not the problem. Material desire is the problem. Because it binds us. The Bhagavatam says that the living entity, by his karma, by his work, he conditions himself. He winds himself up. He just like a silkworm, he traps himself within its own cocoon. The living entity, by his own activities, traps himself into this cocoon. And the living entity, of course, the silkworm, he becomes a butterfly or whatever. But the living entity, the idea is that, well, we're trapped. Now we can't get out. Who's going to help us get out? So we become trapped in this world by this idea of material enjoyment, whether one approaches a demigod or another personality, such and such. But the point is, we are missing that Ishvara Parama Krishna, or that Adasabhritya. What is it? What do you know this verse? Adasabhritya. This comes in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Anyways, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everybody else is below him. He is the topmost. So the demigods are correctly to be understood. Not that we're offensive against the demigods, but it's correctly understood that the demigods are simply just servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada says here that the living entities, the individual living entities, they tend to forget that Krishna is the provider of all. Bhaktaram yagyatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. So that he is the Ekaleshwara Krishna. Arasava bhrite yare aiche nachaye se thaiche kare nritya. Go down. Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller, and all others are his servants. They dance as he makes them do so. So he's the controller of everything. So the living entity has a tendency to forget. But the demigods, devas means those who are devotees. They do not forget where the power is coming from, where the supply is coming from, the powerhouse, where the supply is, everything is coming from. But the living entity forgets. Why? Because of his minute, his small intelligence. He becomes covered by his material desire. So Srila Prabhupada is making that point, that the demigods, they do not forget, but the supreme, but the living entity, individual living entity, has this tendency to forget, to constantly, again and again, be overcome by material desire. Even within devotional service, performing Krishna consciousness, the process of Krishna consciousness, we can become overcome by material desire. We can be coming to the temple and performing devotional service, but have our alternative desire to try to enjoy in this world. Now, Srila Prabhupada says that a devotee, naturally, a pure devotee naturally doesn't pray to Krishna for material desire. Because one who does so is not a pure devotee. But Srila Prabhupada makes the point, well, one should still, even if he has material desire, he should pray to Krishna for that. Because he understands at least that this is the right platform to be. Just like we've given the analogy, and this comes in the Bhagavatam in the 8th canto, that just like the tree is completely nourished by watering the root and not the branches, similarly our material desires can also become fulfilled even by just worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what do you want? What do you want? Do you want a good house? You want kids? You want nice kids? You want a good job? You want a nice car? You can pray that to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You can. It's not pure. It's not anya vilashita sunyam. It's not that it is done with no material desire, but it is done with material desire, and that to a level is okay. At the level you are, ultimate level is no material desire. That is to be understood. But if one does have material desire, then you can pray to Krishna. You can pray to Krishna for that material desire. And Prabhupada says that here. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities. So, a devotee may even pray, like my spiritual master was speaking, saying, a pure devotee may not particularly mean that he is completely free of desire yet. But those who want to become free of desire, they're just unripe. Just like a mango on a tree, in time becomes ripe. Similarly, those who are practicing the devotional service of the Lord with proper understanding, they will eventually become pure devotees. So one may pray for material desire, but Srila Prabhupada says, Krishna may not grant it. He won't give it to us. Why? Because he wants to purify us. He wants us to come to the level of pure devotional service. Why? Because that is what satisfies us ultimately. Just like one may have a child, it doesn't give the child whatever it wants. Why? Because we know that the ultimate benefit of the child is that you don't give it, cereal every morning, just give it a sugar rush every morning because it satisfies the child. You got to make sure the child eats vegetables and good food in order to nourish the child, even though the child may not like it. So similarly, when the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is very caring and loving towards his devotees, wants to benefit his devotees, he may not give us the material desire that is within our heart, even though we are praying for it. But those who are less intelligent, they'll pray to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if they don't get what they want, they'll go to the demigods, as Srila Prabhupada is saying. But one should not do that. Why should one not do that? Because that is not according to Shastra. One should remain with Krishna. One should remain chaste to the Supreme Personality Godhead. Vyavasa atmika buddhi eke kuruha nandana. He should remain chaste. He should remain his intelligence. Eke kuruha nandana. One pointed towards the Supreme Personality Godhead. Independent of whether misery comes or whether happiness comes. That is the point of being on the platform of Brahman. On the platform of spiritual existence. On the platform of Krishna consciousness. One is not swayed by happiness or distress. But those who have intense material desire, their intelligence are many branched, Krishna says. Those whose minds are not controlled, many branch intelligence. So small intelligence, then they'll go anywhere and everywhere to get that. But a devotee doesn't care. Tatenu kampam susikchamana bunjaya evadna kritam vipakam. He earnestly waits for the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, knowing that even though he may be suffering in this world, he may be undergoing some level of suffering, but he understands, well, this is just because of my past karma. but I shall earnestly wait for the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be bestowed upon me. And just by this, Hridvag, Bapu Bhir, Vididham Namaste, that by paying my obeisances to you with my heart, mind, and words, then I shall simply await while suffering all of my past karma. And for one who does such a thing, liberation is his rightful claim. So he doesn't disturb. He appreciates the difficulty Krishna puts him through. Srila Prabhupada writes like that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the Gajendra pastime, that the living entity who is surrendered at the lotus feet of the Lord, he may undergo so many material difficulties, but at no point does he blame the Lord for his difficulties. He never blames the Lord for his difficulties. He never says, well, how dare, like, I surrendered to God, and I'm just getting trouble after trouble after trouble in my life. What is this? We think like that because of our conditioned nature. We think that the Supreme Personality of God is entitled to give us pleasure or a good life. That's generally the idea of religion, is you approach. Why do you go to religion? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. You go for performing religious principles. You go for artha, kama, to fulfill your desires. Moksha, for liberation, for economic development. That's why we go to religion. But this Bhagavatam says that this is false religion, that which propagates these four things. But that which gives us proper knowledge, our real relationship with Krishna, beyond these things, is called real religion. That which invokes the loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, independent of these things, whether we have them or not, that is real religion. So one is not disturbed whether Krishna grants him material desire or Krishna gives him his material desire. We may have some material desire, and we won't pray to Krishna for it. Some devotees, we have material desire in our heart. I have material desire in my heart, so many. But we particularly won't ask Krishna for that. But he may give it. Actually, it tends to be like that. We come to devotional service and all of our material desires that we had in the past are also fulfilled. But they're fulfilled in such a way that we don't want them anymore. They're fulfilled in such a way we realize how small intelligence that was. How small of intelligence that was. For those who come from background like myself, you could say Hindu background, we came to Krishna like that also. Praying to Krishna for some material desire, but later became purified and understood actually those things are so stupid to ask for, that one is completely satisfied just by service to Krishna, that just by understanding one's pure relationship with Krishna, or trying to understand one's pure relationship with Krishna, one becomes completely satisfied. Whereas the demigods, it's not like that. Demigod worship is conditional. You worship the demigods, they give you some result. You worship the demigod, they give you some result. But Krishna is not like that. It's not conditional. No condition. Completely free of all conditioning. What does that mean? It's love. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam pritipurvakam te dvanda moha nirmukta. No, this one. Te dvanda moha nirmukta. No, okay, there's two verses that I get mixed up. So, the point being that pritipurvakam, bhajate pritipurvakam, that pritipurvakam, that loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is free of all material things. Not that you expect Krishna to provide and give you anything, and Krishna doesn't expect anything from you but your love. And that love is shown through action, by performance of devotional service, not just a sacrifice and then that's it. That's the platform of demigod worship. You worship that demigod and you're devoted to that, but your life is separate from that demigod also. Because the idea is, well, once I get enjoyment, then it's separate. It's my enjoyment. But in Krishna consciousness, it's not like that. Relationship with Krishna is not like that. Everything is within Krishna consciousness. You worship Krishna and your happiness or your distress is within Krishna consciousness. You always see Krishna in everything. It's not separate. separatist idea. So those who have a separatist idea, they maintain material desire. Those who have an idea or the misunderstanding that something is separate from the Lord, they endeavor to worship some demigod or try to continue cultivating material desires, trying to satisfy material desires. But those who understand everything is in Krishna. Everything. By worshipping Krishna, one gets everything ever wanted. There's no need to go anywhere else. The fountainhead. Krishna is the fountainhead of everything. He's the reservoir of all pleasure. He's the all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if one can start to realize that, then he becomes satisfied in all circumstances. No problem anymore. All of the problems of life, they're not, whatever so-called problems of life, they've become very small because our relationship with Krishna is very big. We don't give it significance anymore. It doesn't disturb us anymore. Sometimes, a lot of the time in devotion service, we're disturbed when bad material circumstances come about. We're pretty disturbed sometimes. Sometimes so many crazy things may happen in our lives. Your whole house may fall apart. Your relationships may fall apart. Your health may fall apart. Your mind may fall apart. All of these things may happen. But one who is endeavoring on the pure devotion, pure path of Krishna consciousness, he never becomes disturbed by all of those things. He just sees, okay, it's my karma, whatever. It is what it is. He doesn't give him significance because he knows. He knows what is reality, what is illusion, that this material world, it is temporary. Therefore, it's illusory. So even if so many crazy things are happening, well, what is the essence of life? He can use his intelligence. His intelligence is not small, it's broad-minded. Sumedha Saha. So what does he understand? Well, ultimately I have to chant Hare Krishna, perform devotion service to the Lord, independent of any material circumstance, and that's the essence of life. That's all that matters. And he goes on like that, not becoming disturbed. So when one comes to the platform of pure devotion service, he is not pulled by his material desires. He's pulled by spiritual desire. That spiritual desire to satisfy the Lord. That desire to completely give the Lord what he wants. To make one's heart with the desire of the Lord. Then he's completely satisfied. He's never frustrated in these circumstances. Never frustrated. So we want to come to that point. We want to come to that point of realizing this Ekaleshwara Krishna Arasabhabhritya. Ekaleshwara Krishna, that Krishna, he is alone the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the controller of everything. He controls everything. He can grant us whatever you like. Whatever you like. Prabhupada says that Krishna can give you the whole world, but what will you do with it? Krishna can give us everything. Actually, one Prabhupada writes like that in reference to this verse, Akama sarvakama va mokshakama udardihi tivrena bhakti yogena yajita purusham param. He said that the Lord, or the other verse in the 9th chapter, that I shall carry what you lack and preserve what you have. He says that when the pure devotee of the Lord is endeavoring on the path of self-realization, when there's no material desire, or the Lord can see that by granting him this particular thing won't affect his devotion service, the Lord is ready to give him anything and everything. Whatever he requires for the performance of that service. Whether it means we need a very big fancy building, or whether it means we need a very fancy car, the Lord is able to provide all that. But the pure devotee is not at all attached to it. He doesn't care. He sees that this only belongs to the Lord, not to me. So I shall not enjoy it. It's only for the enjoyment of the Lord. And as a result of being a servant of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he enjoys on the level of Krishna. So he's deriving unlimited enjoyment at every moment in his life when he is pure, untainted with any material desire. He has not. His heart is completely pure. And then it's just like then you're swimming in the ocean of pleasure. You're swimming in the ocean of bliss, with the desire to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whereas the worshippers of demigod, they constantly pulled, just as Prabhupada says here, he's mad to fulfill his lusts. Those who are mad to fulfill their lust, we become mad, foolish. But in devotion service, we become full of knowledge. Full of knowledge of our relationship with Krishna. Satchit Ananda, about eternal nature. So this is the platform of devotional service. It grants us everything you ever wanted. There's no loss or diminution on this path. There's no loss, nothing to lose, everything to gain. Don't delay, do it today. We are losing by the rising and setting of the sun. Every moment of our life is being taken away from us. Death is coming. But by being absorbed in the pastimes of the Supreme Personality Godhead, in understanding who the Supreme Personality Godhead is, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, Evam Yoveti Tattvataha, Tyaktva Deham Punar Janma Naiti Mameti Suarjuna. One does not have to return to this material world by understanding the Lord's pastimes, His Janma and His Karma, His birth and His activities, how they are transcendental. One overcomes death, overcomes the life being taken away by this rising and setting of the sun, is absorbed in the supreme reality, the Krishna, in relationship with Krishna, that supreme reality. So that we're getting access to that through this Bhagavad Gita. We're getting access to that through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We're getting access to that through the performance of devotional service. So how should we do it? We should do it with the desire of becoming free of the material desire. We should perform devotional service because we have it, but we can address it. We can say, well, Krishna, I have so many of this material desire within my heart. You kindly remove them for me. Cheto darpana marjanam bhava. I recite this every day. Cheto darpana marjanam bhava grahi. What is it? Bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. Shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadhu jivanam anandam buddhivardhanam pratipadam purnamrita swadhanam sarvata snapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna sankirtanam. All glories to the Sankirtan movement, which cleanses all the dust, all the dirt within the heart. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. Anandam buddhivardhanam. It is blissful. It is unlimited ocean of bliss. So that is the nature of Krishna consciousness, that Krishna purifies us. He is the purifier of all living entities. He can purify us of all material desire and bring us to the platform of pure devotional service. So we must pray like that. That's what the Hare Krishna Mahamantra means. Srila Prabhupada would tell us that, oh my dear Krishna, oh energy of the Lord, please engage me in this service. Please engage me in your service. Because that is our eternal nature. So by chanting Hare Krishna, by constantly chanting Hare Krishna, by chanting these 16 rounds, by following these 4 regulated principles, we can become free of material desire and come to the platform of pure spiritual desire, in which we will be completely satisfied, not left with any sort of, we won't be left with any need to go anywhere else. So that is the platform of pure devotional service. That is the complete goal of life. It completes us, and so we should perform that. We should come into devotional service and endeavor to do that. Come to the morning program, come to the Sunday programs. By doing this, you'll become satisfied, and you'll help so many others become satisfied by teaching them this way of devotional service also. So we're obviously open every day for people to come in and do it. So please come through. You've been coming around for some time now, most of you. So you can take it up more seriously. And my spiritual master says, the more serious we become, we desire to become more serious. We should push, because this human life is very short. It can end at any moment. We don't want to waste it. So one should completely dedicate himself to his ability, to the extent of ability he can. So yeah, let's go on doing this. It is I'm teaching myself also by reciting all this. We have so many problems, our own personal material desires within the heart that deviate us from devotional service. So we can pray like this. Okay, is there any questions or comments? Please feel free to add this, Prabhu.
Yes, I heard there was millions and millions of demigods, and what I would want to know is it possible to be serving a demigod and you not even know it? Because I never heard of demigods before coming to Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, all traditions kind of have that a little bit. You'll see that in the Greek, there's like the Greek gods. They had, basically that's demigod worship. Is it possible to worship the demigods without knowing it? Generally, there's a process of worship. So in the Vedic, you have to be within the Vedic system in order to even worship that demigod. So you have to know what that process of worship is. In order to worship Lord Shiva, you have to do a particular type of sacrifices. In order to worship Indra, you have to do a particular type of sacrifices, particular type of austerities. Just like when you read the 7th canto, Hiranyakashipu, he had to do a particular type of austerities in order to satisfy Brahma. So generally, it's not particularly like that people can worship demigods just out of their own idea of worship. Generally, there's a process of worship. Now, we see sometimes in the West that there's some level of worship of something. Generally, that can be the ghosts, because that worship is done in the mode of ignorance. So one may be worshipping some ghosts. Because even the worship of demigods is done with a particular level of knowledge. It falls within the Vedic system. Although Krishna says it's small intelligence, Krishna doesn't say it's particularly, it says false. He says it's false worship. But it's actually, to some extent, it's encouraged. To some extent, with those who are at that level, try to help them to come up at some point. At least they understand the platform of worship, Vedic tradition. Whereas those who don't understand any level of process, then generally they worship ghosts. So
I was told that whatever you think about, majority of the time, that's pretty much what you worship.
yeah. What you are what you associate with, you could say. Worship so we can define it on different levels, just like those who worship football stars or basketball stars or the rappers and all that. That's a level of worship too. You associate with that music because you worship that person. You listen to that because you worship that person. That's the nature of the living entity. But in this case, with the demigods, we're doing it willingly. They're doing it. Those people are doing it willingly, like they're undergoing particular austerities. More or less, you're doing it unknowingly. The people in the West, you could say like that, unknowingly worshiping, not knowing who the true worshipper is to be worshipped. Who is the true person to be worshipped? They don't recognize that. Whereas the Vedic tradition, they particularly worship the demigods. They also don't know who is particular to be worshipped because they're small intelligence. But the idea is that it is varnashram, it's within the Vedic tradition, so it is lifting them up. Whereas because we're not in the West, we don't fall within varnashram, it doesn't particularly lift us up a lot of the time. So can you unknowingly worship a demigod? From a Vedic point of view, no. Particularly, you may have reverence for them, just like some people come across like Lord Shiva or Lord Ganesh a lot of the time in the West, and they worship them, but that worship is not particularly bona fide. The demigod is not particularly satisfied by that worship. The demigods have a particular way of worship that they have that requires them to, in order to grant that desire. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Yeah, you had a question. Mataji had a question. Just one second, get the mic.
You mentioned that our goal is to let go of our material desires, but if we did have a material desire, that we could go straight to Krishna instead of the demigods. And so how do you know that you're going to Krishna versus the demigods when you're praying, or if you did have a material desire?
Yeah, you pray straight to Krishna, just like we're doing even now. Is chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We're praying to Krishna, So you're directly, by reading this book, you understand who Krishna is. Supreme Personality Godhead, the word Krishna himself. So if one has intense material desire, he may even ask Krishna for that. So that it's clear by reading and understanding. And you understand, well, my material desire isn't like, me trying to satisfy this thing isn't exactly like right. But, it's better to go to Krishna than to go to some demigods, because Krishna will purify you, like you're saying. So we understand just by reading. By understanding, this is Krishna. Okay, he can give everything. Okay, I have this material desire. What should I do? So Krishna may help us like that also. In fulfilling desire, he may not give it also, like I was saying, depending on how he wants to bring you up. So, yeah. Anything else? Any questions? No? Okay, all right. So today's a little shorter. So if no questions, then obviously next part of the program is the feast downstairs. Obviously it's